welcome to Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. A lot's happened since we were last with you guys. To start off with, New York City Councilman Zoran Mamdani won his race to be the next mayor of New York City. It is refreshing to see New York vote for someone so anti-establishment. I've been to the city many times, and my impression of New Yorkers is they're basically people who, if they saw you were on fire, they wouldn't piss on you. They probably could, but then they'd think, meh, I really don't have to go that bad. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo came in a close second. I bet he's relieved that this campaign is over, as he no longer has to try and talk and simultaneously talk to female voters and suppress himself from getting an erection. Cuomo got most of the anti-Mamdani vote, which in theory would have gone to Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa. Imagine being Curtis Sliwa and people looking at you and going, no, we're not going to vote for you. Instead, we're supporting the guy who multiple times almost sexually assaulted someone. Mm-hmm. That means the beret is no longer the most embarrassing thing about him. There was some blowback to the election, of course. Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville said that with the Mamdani win, these are his words, New York City will be completely Muslim in 3 to 4 years, and it will spread throughout the country. That's the same level of ignorance you hear with pretty much everybody who doesn't support Mamdani, most of them anyway. Yeah, Mamdani being elected mayor is what I hate about living in New York. Oh yeah? Where in New York do you live? Just outside Watertown. And people are upset because now they think New York City will become a haven of Sharia law. They think that because they have never clearly met any female New York City comedian who will never let that fucking happen. Although I think a lot of anti-Mamdani people are upset because if Sharia law does take effect, they'll have to learn how to treat their women slightly better. All 3 judges up for retainment to Pennsylvania's state Supreme Court succeeded in their elections and their campaigns. There was one billionaire in the state who tried to boot them, and he failed. It must be galling to have had spent the money on the electoral equivalent of the Hawk-Tuah girls' cryptocurrency scheme. Of course, not everybody learned a lot from this last election. There was a handful of Democrats in the United States Senate who decided to cut a deal with the Republicans to reopen the government. They didn't even get the health care subsidies guaranteed. So while most of us went ahead and looked and said, oh, wow, it's good to run on democratic principles and philosophies and ideals, this is the group of Democrats in the United States Senate, the most deliberative body in the country. And by most deliberative, they mean they look at something monumental like last Tuesday's election and think, oh, no, we can't let that happen again. Of course, I have to say that at the time of this recording, the U.S. government is still shut down. It hasn't opened yet. And as a result, Donald Trump is still refusing to release contingency funds for SNAP benefits and food stamps, which helps low-income people buy food. I don't know if this is really what Trump wants to do by cutting back on spending government funds, saving money on food assistance by literally starving to death everyone on food assistance. Donald Trump made an appearance at the Washington Commanders game in D.C. and got booed so loudly that Dallas Cowboys players got jealous. J.D. Vance's half-brother lost his race to be the mayor of Cincinnati. He lost to the incumbent Democratic mayor Aftab Perval and by a percentage of 78 to 22. That had to have been the most embarrassing moment since his parents said, come here and meet your new brother. And now on with the show. Joining me to discuss this week's big topics are Valerie Paschall, Nicole Blessing, and Srilatha Rajamani.
Hello.
Hello.
How's everyone doing this week?
Much better than last week.
It was a bit tense. It was just a little bit tense last week.
Yes.
Well, I went from being very proud of this of Virginia, the state of my birth, to being very disappointed in Virginia within the course of a week. Tim Kaine, what are you doing?
It is a typical it is the typical mood swing that we get from being mid-Atlantic residents. Like it happens, weather, politicians, it's par for the course for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, like hooray, we put in our first female governor. She's a Democrat. She's not the MAGA candidate. And then what are you doing, Tim Kaine? What, this is the hill that you've decided to die on, is crossing the aisle and not getting the health care benefits? Okay.
I mean, is this some sort of ploy where they're waiting until they get an elected MAGA person to cancel out her vote? I mean, isn't there something coming up in like Tennessee or some other hellscape?
There is. And then I think Mikey Sherrill, who won her governor's race in Virginia, she's still a member of Congress. She'd have to resign to take that seat. Depending on when she resigns, that number could go down, and then they need signature number 218 again. So I think there's a seat in Tennessee that still needs to be filled, and then there's a fairly blue seat in Texas that's waiting on a runoff election. So, depending on when all that gets timed out, we could be waiting for weeks for something to happen on any front.
Or months, because the priority here is protecting the pedophiles. We don't care about, starving children. That's just, who cares?
The magnitude of the results from Tuesday's elections could easily have been foreseen. Trump's efforts to make his second term just as bad as his first, if not even more so, left those responding to polls with a disapproval of Trump at such a level as not seen even following the days of January 6th, as we can see in this clip.
President Trump is not on the ballot, but his agenda most definitely is. A new CNN poll finds most Americans are not happy with how things are going with Trump back in the White House. The president's approval rating now at its lowest point of his second term. It sits at just 37%. A full 63% of Americans say they're unhappy with the job that he's doing. Those are numbers that we last saw after January 6th, 2021. And on a number of key issues, from the economy to his handling of the government shutdown, the president finds himself underwater with the American people.
It really is baffling when you think, it was almost as if he was saying, okay, how can I find something? Okay, what can I do to make people hate me a lot more than when I tried to overturn their legitimate votes and kill members of Congress and attack police officers, even after I'm saying I've supported them for years? What can I do? Oh, I can do all this stuff. And then it's a very twisted form of mission accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, by not releasing SNAP money and congratulations, now the rest of the country understands how angry Washington, D.C. on its own was the last time this shutdown happened. Because we who lived in D.C. have a particular brand of rage, because the government is the largest industry as far as workers in that city, in that general area. And that affects every other industry, including the second largest, service industry workers. And so if the government people aren't getting paid, they're not going out to bars and restaurants to help the service industry people get paid. And it affects the whole thing. And as it is, Elon Musk has already fired a bunch of the employees anyway. It's like Donald Trump is trying to break Washington, D.C. Like that can happen. Like
they put themselves in this almost like a bubble. I mean, do you guys remember the clip of like when Trump emerged and went to a restaurant and people were like booing him and they threw out one woman because she was like, she got up in there and told him off? Like, they seemed genuinely shocked.
It was just horrible just to see that, like when, Trump was threatening states to not provide SNAP, he was basically like, if the states that were trying to provide, he was like, he threatened them. At the same time, Elon Musk got this huge, like paycheck from Tesla. I'm just that, the juxtaposition of those two on my news feed just made me want to throw up. Like, I've never, before considered like actually that breaking the law is a good thing, but like if someone had like kidnapped Elon Musk, and through, just said, until all this money is given away, we are going to keep you. I think I would have been supporting them. I would have given them food and stuff while they were, in that jail cell with Elon Musk. I would have just given him vegetarian stuff because I know he'll hate it. And I think I would have supported that action.
I mean, which makes sense considering how much fan mail Luigi Mangione, I'm sure, is still getting. Like
I mean, I don't
billionaires
expect
not doing
Elon
well.
Musk kidnapper to be Luigi level hot. He can be a Mario. It's fine. It's fine. The action matters. We shouldn't just go by appearance alone, Srilatha. We should look for their deeds as well as their looks. So I will make an adjustment. They can look like Super Mario. It doesn't matter. I would still give them like, I would give them breakfast, lunch, dinner every day. I would send nice meals. Maybe give them like an Uber, like a coupon, from Uber Eats, for them to like get something exotic if they want to, like oysters, so they can like do something naughty to Musk. Like, I'm okay with all of that.
And who says we're angry and violent? I mean, like, this is a perfect example. It's no secret that Trump understood that an Andrew Cuomo victory would be the likely outcome for a positive result from his perspective, but not realizing that New York has hated Trump since he was spawned from the frosty cavern known as his mother's snatch. He believed that his endorsement of a mayoral candidate of the nation's largest city would get him an ally in the city he once called home, and explains his reasoning for doing so in this clip.
With state and local elections coming up Tuesday, we asked the president about the highly anticipated mayoral race that includes former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old Democratic socialist. He's the
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right?
But what if Mamdani becomes mayor?
It's going to be hard for me as the president to give a lot of money to New York, because if you have a communist running New York, all you're doing is wasting the money you're sending there. So I don't know that he's won, and I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time, to be honest with you.
Well, first off, like, New York sends way more money to the federal government than it gets back. So that argument falls flat. And like Andrew Cuomo, he has to hear that and think, I'm fucked.
Oh God, what have I done?
I swear everything comes back to looks with this man. He doesn't know the difference between communism and socialism. Yeah, I was like, oh, but I'm more attractive. No, you have a face like a potato. And that's an insult to a potato.
Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. It was horrible. It was also like he has one of those, amusement park, those, kind of mirrors that,
The skinny mirror, like that makes him look skinny.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, he is spending millions of dollars of our money golfing and throwing parties with prepubescent girls dancing half naked. But you know what? Why don't you take some of our taxpayer money and get some microdermabrasion so that we can stomach looking at your potato face?
I mean, well done to Nora O'Donnell for just continuing on with the questions and not reacting whatsoever, because I don't have it in me. It's the comedian with a heckler sort of timing where I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to let you repeat what you just said so that you can make an ass of yourself again. So that my pause will let you know that you fucked up. But like, good on her for not even reacting and just being like, I'm just going to go to the next question and act like you didn't say that.
Lost in all the coverage of Mamdani's win and Andrew Cuomo's defeat is the Republican Party candidate Curtis Sliwa. After his distant third-place showing, he offered this ununifying-like warning to the mayor-elect and those who supported him.
But I will tell you this. We have spent 2 years organizing this movement. It's not just Republicans or Democrats or independents. It's animal lovers. It's people who've been disenfranchised. People who have been pushed to the side, whose voices have not been heard. The homeless, the emotionally disturbed, the veterans, the people who ride the subways. We've been with them each and every day. And we will not surrender. We will not retreat. We will not leave this city of New York. We will improve. We will not move. And let me warn our new leader, if you try to implement socialism, if you try to render our police weak and impotent, if you forsake the people's public safety, we're not only organizing, but we are mobilizing, and we will become the mayor-elect and his supporters' worst enemies, worst nightmare. Yes. We, the people, will always be united. That's right. That's right. We, the people, will always be united. Yes. That has been our quest from day one.
You can't really be intimidating saying you're going to be someone's worst nightmare after you just listed every single group of people by political party, animal lovers, all these other groups. Basically every single group who's looked at you and just told you to fuck off in a resounding vote.
Oh, Uncle Curtis, I think it's nap time now.
All right, here, I'm going to say this for him, for Curtis Sliwa, is that, at least he didn't receive Trump's support. That has got to be something positive there. But I noticed that I live like 2 blocks from Times Square, and I would notice, when just maybe a week before the elections, even a couple of days, Curtis Sliwa, there was one guy who was like, hanging around with his flag, vote for Curtis Sliwa, and he was riding a unicycle. So I don't know, what this is supposed to mean, but I just feel like, I would give him a teddy bear and I would tell him to go and cuddle it because I think he needs someone to give him a hug.
They're like the fringe, right? They're not really they're off on their own little.
Yeah, and that beret, I don't know. He just sort of reminded me of someone who was rejected from, becoming an immigrant in France. And he was just like, I'm going to carry this. I'm going to carry that personality. So, yeah.
I mean, he can't get snuggled by one of the 18 cats that he has.
I think I like him a lot more now.
Democrats prevailing in Tuesday's elections came against the conventional wisdom set forth by mainstream media outlets about the low poll numbers of Democrats, their ideas, and the platforms of the candidates running in an off-year election. One of these narratives is pushed by Donald Trump's former EU ambassador Gordon Sondland in this clip from MSNBC's pre-election night coverage.
We can say Donald Trump has been counted out before and underestimated, but if the party's running on anything, I'll show you the numbers. Approval, 37%. Disapproval, a whopping 63%. He and the party would have to be underestimated a lot on these numbers to still do well.
Well, those polls can be very mercurial, but let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is our mayoral candidate in New York. This is wrong on so many levels for both parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Zoran Mamdani elected as mayor is going to be a disaster. He might be helpful to the Republicans as the poster child for where the Democratic Party is headed. But for New York, which is one of the biggest economic engines on the planet, it is going to be a disaster on so many levels. And for Jews in New York to support Mamdani, who is an anti-Semite. How do I know he's an anti-Semite? Because he says he's an anti-Semite. It's very simple.
Well, I don't think he's ever said that, but he said other things that you point out are controversial.
Come on, Israel. Hitler was good at voter turnout, too.
Oh, well, that might be an overstatement.
Listen,
I think that's an extreme overstatement, but I'll let you respond to the Congress.
Okay, so if you're not watching this video on YouTube, first off, shame on you for not getting my watch hours up so I can get this channel monetized. And it didn't seem like a very convincing, argument from someone who basically looked like he was an extra in Skinheads the musical.
I am so tired of hearing crap like that from old white men whose head looks like a penis. It never stops. It's, oh, it's terrible. He's this, he's that. No, the man is not anti-Semitic. He gives these speeches about bringing people together and embracing our differences because it makes us stronger. And that is a threat. That is a threat to the status quo, to all these people who have tried to be divisive throughout, the last, I don't know. I feel like this has been going on forever.
I mean, certainly in my lifetime, which is quite a bit. As someone who's getting to be an older white man whose head is shaped like. Anyway, I'm going to see a plastic surgeon.
You have hair. Keep your hair.
I'm still going to see a plastic surgeon next week, so I'll fix that problem.
I don't understand how people can still say that when, and I don't have the numbers, but, I'm pretty sure if I did Google, I could find that. There are a lot of Orthodox Jewish people that voted for Mamdani this time. It was impossible for him otherwise. Staten Island went for Cuomo, Upper East Side, Upper West Side. There were many districts that went for Cuomo. Without the Jewish vote, just solely based on the other people, the African American population, the youth voters, all of that aside, if these people hadn't voted for him, I don't know if he could have won that easily, in the sense, not that it was easy, but he still won. That would have been not possible without the Jewish voters. So to just say, hey, Jewish people all hate Mamdani, I don't think there is one group of people that is unified in any way. You can't say the Muslims are all unified, all the Muslims like Sharia law, for instance. You can't say, God knows we Hindus are not unified about anything. You can't say that. Who are these people sitting and talking about, and Mamdani's wife is Palestinian. He married a Semite. Palestinians are Semites too. I don't know what a Semite is. I hope that's the right word. They're from the same area. If you're saying anti-Semite, it's from the region, I think, right? It's not about a religion. You think anti-Semite is the same as anti-Jewish? What kind of idiots are they?
He made a point of bringing up religious leaders like a mullah, a rabbi, and a priest, which I think is the beginning of a street joke, had made the point of bringing everybody up on stage together to say, we are united in believing this is the best person for the city. And because he wants to do things like make the bus free and have free pre-K, oh no, what a scandal.
Of course, any charges of anti-Semitism lodged by Republican advisors is a confession and self-projection, as we can see in a live stream from an event held by the unsuccessful candidate for governor of New Jersey, Jack Ciatarelli. The speaker is an advisor, Dr. Ibrar Nadim, and he sums up his candidate's platform in this clip.
One last thing, before we take a photograph with Jack Ciatarelli, every time I got hired, people from my community, when I was blamed that somebody said you are taking money from Jews. I said, I check my bank account every day, brother. It is not there.
Dr. Ibrar Nadim, just once I wish you would say what's exactly on your mind. Let's hear it one more time for the doctor.
I mean, we always knew that there was just a hint of racism in the Republican Party. It was never really out there until just recently.
Just a hint. It's like, I think, considering the number of brown people in New Jersey, there would have been one person on Mikey Sherrill's side as well. Exactly, you can't run a campaign in New Jersey without having someone brown, speaking for you. Like, especially if you're a white person, you're going to need some brown face in there.
Do they have to be like born that way, or do they accept spray tans? Because isn't Snooki from there?
No, I'm talking about brown. Oh, well, these are brown. These are like born brown, emerging from you said snatch, Tom. I'm going to repeat that. Emerging from the brown snatch, like brown. They can be caramel, they can be mixed race, but they must be born with one of the parents, like, eating a chili for breakfast. So that's real brown. And you need that for New Jersey. There are a lot of us brown people there, like of different, religions or whatever. But and many of them are conservative. They have like big houses, so when they become rich, they like to be sort of right wing. Like we have seen Vivek Ramaswamy and all those people.
Yeah, it's like they get their riches and their means to be able to live. So it's like, screw everyone who tries to come after us.
Yeah, I mean, I say that for anybody when I'm like, in the ticket, getting the train. Like, if anybody is coming behind me, I'm like, I'm going to get in first, even if they are a child. I will not care.
No wonder she fits in well on this show.
Wow. You're just pushing kids out of the way left and right.
In case you're wondering whether Srilatha lives in New York.
Also from Bombay. I was born that way. Like, Bombay is the New York of India. Like,
That's wow. Even more so. Yeah.
And on that note, that's our show. I want to thank Valerie Paschall, Nicole Blessing, and Srilatha Rajamani.
Woo!
But before I go, I like to leave you with this final thought. Former Vice President Dick Cheney has died. I shall always remember him as someone who criticized the way Donald Trump disregarded political norms and endangered the foundations of this country, and was upset because Dick Cheney himself didn't think of those ideas first. I'm not sure exactly how to feel about this. On the one hand, he did what was once thought impossible, become a reasonable voice in the neocon movement of the early 21st century. On the other hand, his history of turning a blind eye to domestic and international civil rights violations made Trump go, here, hold whatever it is that my son Donald Jr. handed me to take a sip off and watch this. Maybe it's best that instead of burning in hell, where I initially thought Dick Cheney belonged, he spends a small portion of eternity in purgatory. It's a reasonable compromise. Another compromise is that we do not make it public where he's buried. This will be an effort to avoid his final resting place being taken over, not only by the anti-establishment Trump wing of the modern Republican Party and the remaining vestiges of the revolutionaries who fought so hard against the attempted takeover of the extreme religious right in the first decade of this millennium, but also by the ritualistic desecration and self-harming antics of the group most thirsty for revenge of a departed Dick Cheney. That group being the joint gathering of the sons of the Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib survivors. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good day, everybody. This episode was written and hosted by Tom Myers with panelists Valerie Paschall, Nicole Blessing, and Srilatha Rajamani. Theme music composed and arranged by Jeroen van den Hurck. Executive producers Tom Myers, Aaron Duspiva for Oddly Funny Productions, Matt Connarton for ipmNation, and Eddie Carson for Odyssey Radio. Please leave a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Tom Myers, for access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus clips, and now Patreon-exclusive episodes. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for listening, and please visit tommyers.us.